Good morning and welcome back to Jack's Tech Corner Live Edition. This is Photography Weekly, episode number 28. Coming up on today's show, let's have a look at framing and some different aspects and different ways of framing a picture. Next is a lighter way to carry and edit your pictures. Well, what could we be talking about there? You'll see in just a few, just about 15 or 20 minutes in, you'll see what I'm talking about. And then we're going to take your questions and answers. Skype is open today, as it will be open through the show, but I ask that you please don't call in until we take breaks in between the segments. So let's go ahead and get started this week with Photography Weekly, episode number 28. Well, hey, I hope everybody had a good week so far, or if Sunday is the beginning of your week, and then I hope it is starting off okay for you there. So it was a great week for us. Last night was actually a homecoming evening here where I live. So homecoming, with all the kids there getting all dressed up. And made a nice night for pictures and a beautiful night for them for dancing and food. And they all had a great, wonderful time. You're going to see some of those pictures here in this segment because I wanted to use a couple of those to show you this framing segment. And with that said, I also have a live class coming up. I don't know if you live around the Pennsylvania or Pittsburgh region, or if you're willing to drive, if you're from West Virginia or wherever you may be from there. You can drive up here. It's going to be one night a week. It's 2.5 hours. If you're interested, it's 4 weeks or 4 nights total, but it's stretched over 4 different weeks. Email me, and we will definitely touch base, and I'll give you some more details on that live class. You can come and join us. The only prerequisites is that you have basically a 35 millimeter DSLR camera or a hybrid camera. So either one of those, and you'll be just fine. And I'll be glad to have you and be able to teach you a little bit of this kind of stuff live in a open type classroom setting, where we do a lot of experimentation. We go out, we take a lot of pictures together, and it's just a really, really good time. So getting that out of the way, kind of also watching the chat room here, which I had to put behind me. And that'll make more sense to you when we get into this segment about a lighter way to carry your pictures around. But right now, first of all, we're going to talk about, and I don't know how many of you out there are actually framing your pictures in Photoshop Elements. But it makes a nice way to cap the picture off, I guess. A nice way to touch the picture up is to frame it. And, that's what we're going to talk about starting on this segment here, is how to frame your pictures. And playing around with this, I brought this up because playing around with this morning, I found that what happens is sometimes the picture is too large for the frame, and I want to show you what happens there in that instance, and how we can correct it, because I know you're going to run into it, especially after the show when you start framing pictures and you start saying, start putting them on the Facebook page, on our Jack's Tech Corner Facebook page, and people are saying, wow, that picture's a little big for that frame. I'm sure at that point you would have to be able to adjust that picture. So let's go and get started with that. Switch us over here to the laptop. And there's the laptop. And let me just... We'll just change this there so you can see my whole editor. And yes, this is one of the pictures last night. This is actually one of the pictures last night from the homecoming. A very nice young couple there. And they are preparing to go. I call these BP, or before the party. All right. We are going to add a frame to this. So, the way you want to add a frame, though, first of all, that I found is you want to start with a new blank file. Now, why is this? Why do we want to start with a new blank file? The reason being is when you work with these frames, they want you to put the picture on the frame, is how it works. So the picture has to be on the frame itself. Now, I'm going to also try to bring this up a little bit. Let's see here if I can do this. No, we're not going to. I was going to put a picture-in-picture there with you, but I'll explain this. You watch, listen along here, and we'll be okay. So a picture on top of the frame is how it works. It's how it embeds itself. But there's problems with that scenario, and I'm going to show you those to you. So how do we get to frames? Anybody use frames out there before? Just kind of following the chat room there. I'm looking there. Jessica, I'm glad you joined us. Thank you very much for stopping by there. Computer giving you trouble in getting updates this morning. I had that trouble yesterday. Brian. Yeah, Brian, I don't hear any audio echo here at all. I have everything here muted. Hopefully anybody else having any echo problems there. Brian's asking in the chat room. I just wanted to throw that out there to you guys. Let me make sure here. Yep, everything here is muted. So nothing there. All right. Now, we're going to go ahead there, and I'm going to show you this framing technique without looking at the chat room anymore. Sometimes I get taken off by looking at the chat room with you guys. I will check that after this segment. So you will find your actual frames under content. And then go from backgrounds, go to frames. And then here is all of our frames right here. And there's a lot of frames in there to choose from. You can literally work for hours playing around with different frames and seeing how they work. For this actual demonstration, we're going to start at the top here, and we're going to start talking about some basic frames. Now, like I said, if you put a frame on here, it's going to be kind of messed up because it requires you to drop the picture onto the frame. So let's go ahead first of all and go up to File, New, Blank File. And then we're going to create, it doesn't really matter what it's called. You can call it frame, whatever you want to call it there. Let's change the inches. I don't like to work in inches. I'd rather work in pixels. So we'll give it 1800 width by 1200 height, and we'll just let it go with that. And that should actually work for this demonstration. So here is our blank file right here. Now we're going to go ahead and put a frame on top of that. So I'll just grab a frame. I'll just pull it over and drop it on there. And now here's our frame. It's pulled out a little bit. Pull that frame out just a little bit more. And here's our frame. Now what's going to happen with this frame is this. You're going to take your picture, click on it, and drag it on top of it and just let it go. And then the magic of Photoshop Elements does all the rest, right? And it'll put it in there for us. Well, kind of. Here's what I was running into this morning. Hopefully this works out anyway. Let's see here if this does work out. Okay. If you take this slider bar up here and slide it to the right or left, it makes it either larger or smaller. I'm going to try to make it smaller. And it gets to a certain point where you're not going to be able to make it any smaller. So what's nice about a frame is you can grab it by the corner outside of it and still resize the picture if you want to make it a little smaller, just to make it framed a little better. So once again, you can work outside the picture and use the handlebars and you can move that picture in. Once you're done, just click the checkbox. And then that looks okay. You're like, well, that looks okay, except for our transparent pixels on the outside. So then you just have to do a little cropping routine, right, and just crop it out there. Yeah, we're going to try to pull this down a little bit. Let's change this back to grid. And you see it won't allow me to just crop that picture out, right? Because it's pulling it way over top of the blank pixels. So what we're going to have to do is we would have to do some work on this to get this straightened out. But what I want to show you is there's another way to do this. The way I like to put my pictures onto that frame. Let's go back here. We're going to do it again, new blank file. We will go back to pixels, but this time we're going to make it a little smaller, 800 by 600. 800 by 600. Click OK. Let's grab a new frame in here. Put that frame on there. Then just hit your checkbox. Now what I like to do with mine is I like to go ahead and click on down here and put a new layer on there. Have a new blank layer. And instead of having the picture, instead of pulling your picture into that frame, I would rather lay the picture over the frame and then size it myself. So again, I'm going to double click there and just open the whole picture up. We're going to do a edit. Or select, we're going to select all, edit, we're going to copy it. Okay, so we did a select all, and then we're going to copy it. Let's open this one back up. On our new layer then, just click on edit and paste. And now what it did, it pasted on that top layer. So it's on the new layer above the frame. But now it gives us the full abilities to go in here and take this picture and be able to play with it a little bit. If you remember a while back, we did one where we did multiple frames, and I showed you a few weeks ago where Elements 10 decided to put that into their package now. And if you noticed, I'm always pulling from the corner. I'm always pulling from the top left or bottom right corners to keep it more into proportions. Because if you wanted to make these folks smaller, you could just grab it here, right? We could just pull them down. If I want to make them taller, pull them up. But you don't want to do that. You always want to pull in from the edges. And then again, you can just fit them right into your frame there. Or you have the option here, since those are transparent pixels on the outside, we have the option of just changing our layers. Click your checkbox here, grab your layer and pull it up. You have that option, but you see what happens is the frame is not cut out in the middle. That's the problem. That frame is not cut out in the middle, so you're going to end up with something like this that looks covered. So we'll pull it back, and then we'll just continue to resize and put this into the frame itself. And remember, if you start pulling down here, you start pulling them out too much. So just like so. Now, one thing I did find out about frames also is that you can actually find frames on the internet, free frames. You can actually download those and put those into your Photoshop elements. So that is another way you can use those frames that way, to just download different ones you like. And basically the frames on elements to me is more like matting, because then you have the whole picture printed and then you put that in a bigger frame, but it look like there's a matting around it, so you want to darken the edges out and do that different stuff with those. So that'd be exactly what you'd want to do to work that out. And I know there have been a lot of people asking on the Facebook page about framing, as well as about putting borders on pictures and that kind of stuff. That's why I wanted to bring this one up today, this little tutorial, to show you that it's pretty easy to frame your pictures. Just have to take it some time and play around. Okay, so anyway, let me get this quick word here from our sponsors from Barnes & Noble. Hopefully you still read. I know I do. I enjoy reading. I read most of the time on my Nook, and now with the Nook and the Nook Color and the new Nook Touch, I mean, there's all kind of ways to enjoy a new Nook book. So if you ever considered reading more and more, consider reading on an e-reader. Then, Barnes & Noble is probably the place for you. Because my Nook, I've probably had my Nook now for probably about 2 years, I guess. And it makes you read more because it's technology. So, and I know everybody out there really loves printed books. I mean, I have bookshelves full of printed books. We've collected them over the years, right? But they take up space, and honestly, are you ever going to reread them again? Wouldn't it be easier just to have a memory card? Just a little memory card like it's in your camera filled with books. A 8 gigabyte memory card can hold over 40,000 books. Takes up less room than a bookcase. So even if you're not into the Nook books, if you just want regular books, if you want DVDs or movies or anything that Barnes & Noble sells, just go by my website, jackstechcorner.com, and click on the little Barnes & Noble link on the left, and go ahead and make your purchases that way. Once again, that's Barnes & Noble for all your reading needs. Also, don't forget my friend out there, and a lot of you guys on the chat room are already using him, my friend Ken. Ken actually wrote a great program called Green Screen Wizard. Green Screen Wizard is when you take a green screen out and take pictures, you want to rapidly get that background replaced with something nice, a nice digital background. So check out greenscreenwizard.com. But if you go there, go to my website, jackstechcorner.com, and click on the link on the left for Green Screen Wizard. Okay, now let's go back to learning with Photography Weekly. But I thought I would show you because I think it's cool. And if I like playing with something and thinking it's cool, then I'm sure that you may think it's cool also. All right. Now, so what am I talking about? What's so cool? What's a great way to get pictures? And, normally, see if I can get this up here. I carry this laptop. It's a MacBook Pro 15-inch. It's not the lightest thing in the world. So it's a little heavy, and we do carry that to every wedding I go to, just in case I want to dump the pictures. Over the years, I've gotten more comfortable with my wedding pictures not to have to dump pictures. I've gotten more comfortable just to keep them on the memory cards. I carry an extra memory card or two. And, well, you guys know with the new D7000, actually I carry a 32 gig card is what this one is, as well as a 16 gig card in that D7000. And the D80, we keep a 16 gigabyte card in that. So it's all by 4s, so it's a 16. Now, so what I want to tell you, this is pretty light, right? You can carry pictures around this. It's pretty light. But what's the problem with the memory card, right? You can't see them. There's no way to visually see these pictures. So you have to wonder, is there a lighter, easier way to see the pictures and share them with your clients? Yeah, there is. And it is called the iPad. Now, once again, this is not a sponsor for me. This is something that I use it, and I love it, so I wanted to share it with you guys out there and tell you a little bit about the iPad and how it works, because I think it's a great tool for photographers. And we can also do some editing on here, so I'm going to show you some editing techniques. Now, how do we get our pictures from here on this memory card to here on this iPad. Well, it's pretty easy. Actually, Apple made it easy for us a few years ago when the iPad came out. They brought out what's called a camera connection kit. That's what this little thing will do. Now, with the camera connection kit, all we have to do is plug it in the side, right there. And then in the end of this camera kit, there is a SD card slot. You can't see it on this camera, but you will see it on this camera right here. There's an SD card slot at the end of that camera kit. There's also another one comes with your kit. The reason they're $30 is there's another one comes with the kit, and it is actually a USB port. So if you have a camera that doesn't take SD cards, like a Sony, I mean, they're changing now, of course. They finally got with it there. But there's some other cameras out there that may not, that you want to plug the USB cable in. So we take the card right here, the SD card, and plug it right in to the camera kit. And when we do this, the pictures will come up on the screen. Now let's switch you over. A little bit of magic here. We're going to switch you over to the iPad screen and have a look. As soon as I find it. Okay, so this is the iPad screen right here, is what you're currently looking at. This is the iPad, and you're currently looking at the iPad screen. Now, pull this down on my face here a little bit. And let me just adjust this microphone just up a little bit. Hold on just a second. All right, so now we have that all set up, right? And what we want to do here is that if you see at the top where it says import all, we're going to just import our pictures onto this iPad. So I just hit the little button there, and it's going to start importing. You can see the button automatically changes to stop importing, but it's going to go ahead and import the pictures. And as it's doing that, if you can see on the left-hand side, there's a little check mark. And Kevin, I did get that in your chat room there. You noticed that it happens when we switch from the laptop to the main camera. Okay. All right. So we are getting these brought in here. Takes just a little bit of time to import. Now remember, your images today, if you think about this, the images today are not, they are not by any means small. You know, in the past we had images that were actually, you know, some of those images were, you know, 200 or 300 kilobytes. Today, most cameras are shooting very high megapixel rates. So what happens is you get a very large JPEG file. Large by, I mean, anywhere from 2 to 4 megabytes. 2 to 4 megabytes. So that's why it's going to take a little bit of time to import these. The iPad is not the fastest machine in the world. This is an iPad 1. The iPad 2 is a little faster. So we let these things come in here. Then I want to show you some editing. Chat room's being a little quiet there this morning. Hopefully everybody's wide awake this Sunday morning. I know I get to go outside and mow some grass afterwards. I got to beat the rain. It's supposed to rain here. Okay, the last message you get there, as you can see up on your screen, it says, would you like to delete imported photos from the attached camera? Or it's a camera card. It just sees as a camera. I'm going to say, no, we want to keep them, so we're not going to do that. Okay, so then it goes back to import all. So now we have those imported. We should be able to go up here to photos. And now those photos are actually in there. You can see they're actually in here. So when you're with your client, you're at a wedding or something, it's just nice. You hook your card up. You can at least sit down and start showing them some of these. And you can just go ahead and swipe through them. And we can just swipe through these pictures very easily using our finger just on here. Try to bring this over here. So in here, you're swiping across and you're showing your clients the pictures. Just like so. And there you go. So now what we want to do is we want to edit these pictures because we got them on our iPad and we want to edit. So we can, now we're done with the camera card. Let's go ahead and disconnect the camera card. We're going to take off the connector. Take off the little camera card connector here. Now we're back on the iPad. Well, then you say, Jack, wow, that's a little screen. How are you going to edit on this? Photoshop just had they just recently had their big conference. I believe it was in California. I know, just tired. Okay, Jessica. Well, I'm glad you're wide awake. That's a good deal. Glad everybody's awake there. Usually the chat room is more rolling along there, but that's okay. Everybody's just watching and listening. And Kevin sent me that video. He put it on Facebook last week sometime about the new Photoshop, conference. And they had that new program that would eliminate blur, that would take your picture and fix a blurry picture. If you also watch that, they started to talk a lot about touch computing. This is what they're talking about. They are talking about all these tablets coming out today. That's touch computing. And they're learning new ways to allow you to edit with your fingers, right? So we can swipe and change and do things with our fingers and manipulate a picture. So let me show you that on here. And I know a few of you out there do actually have iPads. So I know you're going to be using this feature. Now, I'm going to go back to my home screen. And I downloaded a program on here called, and actually now I'm in the way here. Let me bring this back up. If you look right down here in the lower right hand corner, it's called PS Express. What does that stand for? You're right. Photoshop Express. That's what it stands for. I'm going to hit that. And there we go. Now what we're going to do is select the photo. So just hit in the middle, select photo. And we last imported 28 pictures. That was my last import. Show you here how this is coming up. There you go. That's my last import. Now I want to edit one of those pictures. I want to do something with it, relatively snappy and quick. And we can share that picture. So let's go ahead and do something snappy with the picture. Or relatively quick, very rapidly. Let me see here. I'll just pick one of these out. Whichever one. It's not as robust. Don't think you're going to get this free program. You won't need Photoshop anymore because you still need your Photoshop. All right, let me pick this one out. Uh-oh. Okay, so these are too large to be opened in this. All right, let me go back here. Those are too large to be opened in that, so watch what you're importing. I didn't realize that. This is live show, and we do get that. So let's go back, and we will pick something else out here we can edit. We will edit this one. So I just took my daughter here from a homecoming dress into eating a large Hershey bar. Now, once you do this, look at the top left-hand side, though. It says edit. Now, what happened was with those other pictures, I obviously, they were too large to open. And I will check into that and see what the issue is with that. Oh, and you say, Kevin, you have it on your iPhone. That's cool. That's really cool. And Jessica has this program. Yeah, and Fabian, you're right. You need something a little bit bigger. Okay, so now, folks, let's go ahead into edit. So we hit edit, and it's loading up the editor. And now this is some basic stuff that we can work with. You can naturally crop. And I'm just watching this screen here to make sure it comes up here so you folks can see it. Working with a little bit of VNC in between my iPad and my computer. You can flip, rotate, straighten, or crop. So there's some cool stuff already. Let's go to the next button here. We can set exposure. Again, exposure, saturation, tint, black and white, and contrast. Hit black and white. And, you know, just like using Photoshop, it's that quick. It makes it black and white. You can hit undo on the right-hand side. If you see it there on the bottom, hit undo. And it undoes it. Undoes. It took the edit off. Let's go ahead and hit this other one here. We can do a sketch. We can do a soft focus. If you watched my YouTube video yesterday, you know I was working on soft focus. Sharpening, or we can reduce noise. Let's hit sketch. That just tells you what to do here. Slowly slide your finger left to right over the image to adjust the sketch effect. Left to right. So left. Okay. Left. And we can change the image just by using touch computing. So it's very, very easy. Now we'll click on cancel. I don't want to save that. Then we got effects and borders. So we're just talking about framing, so this kind of falls right into that. Effects and borders. Let's go into borders. We can do some rounded edges. There you go. There's some curved edges. These are nice. I like these borders here. Half tones. Again, I'm letting the screen catch up to me here. That's a half tone. Film. There's a film edge. Click cancel. And let's look at some effects. Then here's some of the basic effects that we have at the top here. This one, if you're familiar with the Mac, this is big with Photo Booth, is when you can do one of these. And you take a picture of yourself with Photo Booth, and then you make it different colors all the way around. So there's a warm vintage, a rainbow, add some rainbow coloring. So these are really, really neat. Once you're done, and I know my daughter will probably kill me for this one, but hey, you know, live and let live, I say with our children, right? Because post it up, that's what I say. So click OK. And then click on Save. That's going to save that particular picture now with your edit on it. Let that save. Now I'm going to bring up that picture, that saved picture. And what I'm going to do now at the very top here, again, I'm going to let it catch up to itself here so you guys can see where we're at. Okay, folks, so at the very top up here, you see where it says share. Now, at the very bottom, it's catching up to itself here. So at the very bottom, you see there when it has Photoshop Express or Facebook. That's the only two options. Then you can actually post right from here. going to bring you back up real quick here on my camera. Hold on just a second. Okay, so we can post real quick from here, and we're going to try this, see how this goes. All right. And we will try to send this picture out. So I'm sure my daughter will see this later this afternoon. That's why I said she'll be yelling today. What are you doing that for? She likes her homecoming pictures on the internet, though. She did like those up already. Trying to log in here. Just wait and see if it'll log in. It doesn't want to log into Facebook. Okay, let's go back here. So you get the general idea there, though. You can send these out to Facebook, and you can also send it out to Photoshop Express, which I guess, and I haven't tried this yet, but I guess that's the same as your Photoshop Elements account. You know how you get free, or maybe you didn't, but you actually have free space on the internet where you can actually post pictures on the Photoshop site. So there you have it. So that is a better way, at least I think, it's a lighter way, right, to carry your pictures. It's very light. It's very easy to carry them on here. If you don't have a iPad, you know, they are worth getting. And I started doing a show a while back called iPad Weekly, I think I called it, or something to that effect. It didn't catch on as much as this show actually caught on, so I kind of nixed it. But I do a lot with the iPad, and maybe next week I'll show you the keyboard I actually purchased for it. If you're interested, I'll show you the keyboard I bought for it. But then somebody said, Jack, if you have a keyboard and you have an iPad, in essence, what do you have? You have a laptop. So in essence, that's what you have. One question is, so what size iPad do you have? 16, 32, or 64? This particular iPad here, right here, is a 16. I would suggest if you're going to use it for pictures, at least get a 32. At least a 32. If you're going to spend all the money to buy the 64, now this is where I'm at right now. These are crossroads from getting a new iPad. What I would say, if you're in the crossroads and you don't really know if you want to get the 64, then honestly I would probably look at the MacBook Air. The MacBook Air, the 11-inch screen for $1,000. You're going to have a lot more options than the iPad, but the iPad's a great choice if you're staying with the smaller ones, with the 16 to 32. It's a great choice because you're under that price point of a laptop, of a Mac laptop. But that's not to say there's not some new laptops coming out from Acer, Asus. They're all coming out with these things called ultra portables to compete against the MacBook Air. So there's some of my inside knowledge from all this technology stuff that I read and sit around and study all the time. So you get at a crossroads. But if I was going to buy the 64, I would just buy the MacBook Air because it weighs about the same. It's very thin. It comes with the keyboard. You have to buy an extra keyboard for it. Now, you can't hold it like this, but again, you'll still have something very light to take out to clients. So, and you can have iPhoto on there to store all your photos. So there you go. Thanks to everybody for joining me this Sunday. It was really a good time to have everybody in here once again for framing. So now we know a little bit about framing anyway. And where to find them and not to be too afraid of framing, and there's a lot more to be done with it. And now I have homework, thanks to one of our viewers here, Jessica. I have homework to make a Polaroid frame, and I'm sure we'll come up with that and put a possibly a YouTube video out on that so you guys can see how to do that. Also, don't forget, there is always a lighter and easier way to carry your pictures. We don't have to carry that heavy laptop around anymore. The tablets are taking over the PC industry, but I'm not like HP. I'm not with HP saying the HP said that the personal computer is dead, and I'm not there yet. I work with personal computers every day, and I know that is not to be the case. Not for quite a few years. So if you're going to buy a computer or a PC or a laptop, buy whatever you want, folks. You're going to be okay. Don't worry about HP. So that's it for episode number 28 of Photography Weekly. So join us back here next week again, next Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Even if we have a little choppiness, I'll still be here doing these shows, and we'll put these together because I love being able to talk to you guys live. That's a great feeling to see people here and to get that interaction with you. So until next week, as always, keep those cameras clicking, the shutters, and keep the editors editing. And I'll see you back here next week for another Photography Weekly. So long for now.